video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways to transform your vibrational set point to a whole new level. I'm going to show you how to transform it so that that becomes your default a majority of the time, like I did for myself. Welcome back to another video. My name's Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you exactly how to transform your vibrational set point using some realizations that totally transformed my life. Now, the more I go along this process of really expanding my own consciousness, the more I become aware that we are vibration, that we are and have an ability to really expand ourselves out to a perspective that normally to the old perspectives would seem a little bit weird, but nonetheless, it's something that when we begin to really connect to, it can totally transform everything. Because the lens through which we see the world, as that changes, then also does the outer reflection that we get, because everything we experience in our life is a reflection of the inside, of what we believe to be true, of the way we see ourselves. That is projected out to other people. That has to do with the way that we feel inside of our body as well, about who we are. And these realizations I'm going to share with you today are ways that you can transform it. Because back in 2012, this is what I went through. I went through a shift in consciousness. This is something that many people are going through right now. Maybe even you have been through this as well. And basically what happened is I, for the longest time, thought that I had ADHD, which I took Adderall for, which is the prescription drug that they give people. They said, oh, you have ADHD, you got to take this. So I took it. And I took it for years. And I worked a sales commission job and made a lot of money when I was at work because it would make me focus. However, it would make me focus while I was on it, because what the Adderall does is it makes it so that you release dopamine. But when you get off of it, what then happens is you crash. So I would take it during the day, I would get home, I wouldn't have an appetite because it suppresses appetite, and at the same time, I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. So eventually I did my own research, I came across and found meditation. There's so much research on meditation and how powerful it is for making the brainwaves coherent, for regulating dopamine and serotonin, which is what Adderall does, is it makes you release more dopamine. So I'm like, hey, if I could do that myself with no side effects, wouldn't I rather do that? So I made a commitment that I was going to learn meditation. And when I learned meditation, which is something that we're going to be talking about in a minute, but even deeper than that, I became more aware of how I could go inwards and how I could realize who I am at a deeper level. When I say who I am, I'm not just talking about my ego. I'm talking about understanding consciousness at a deeper level, understanding the spiritual awakening at a deeper level, and how when I began to tap into that, everything in my life changed. Everything. I started to view myself differently. I started to develop a hunger for understanding more about the way reality works, because I realized there is so much more to experience than what we've been led to believe. We are, in a way, filtered from understanding this information. And I'm not saying that from a victim perspective, like we have to be mad at the government or anything like that. I'm just saying that it was so crazy to me that we don't learn these things in school, and then I realized that there's different things at play that make it so that doesn't happen. So it made a lot more sense. But then, I went through a phase to where I started to feel totally different about myself. I had the spiritual awakening. It was this expansion inside of me, and I started to just feel completely different. And what happened was after I went through that, I got rid of Adderall very quickly as I started to become more spiritually aware. And I got rid of Adderall. I started just meditating every day. I'd meditate in the morning and I'd meditate at night. What happened is, shortly but surely, it was, I realized that I was feeling, in a way, high all of the time. Now, I wasn't doing any drugs whatsoever. If anything, I was getting off of the Adderall, and I started to feel really good. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why am I feeling so good? But then I realized it had to do with observing my thoughts. It had to do with some of the things I'm going to share with you today. But what it did is I realized that I came to this realization that on a scale of 1 to 10, I was normally feeling probably about a 4 or 5, and all of a sudden I'm feeling at like a 7 or an 8. And I thought it was too good to be true. I remember thinking, I'm like, man, is this feeling going to go away? And it never went away. It just became my natural set point. So when it became my natural set point, it just wasn't as ecstatic as it was before. And that really made me understand the dynamics that come into play, that when we let go of lower emotions, when we, in a way, understand who we are at a deeper level and that everything in our life has meaning, we start to let go of the stories we tell ourselves, which a lot of times are what keeps us in the lower vibrational states of consciousness. So this is about consciousness, and this is about understanding that you are a vibrational being, and that when you begin to tap into this, you start to transform your level of consciousness. Now, what I did is I understood a couple things about myself. I understood, one, this is the first one, the first way that you can transform your vibrational set point is understanding that you are an immortal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. Now, I know even when I say that, it kind of comes with, is like, is this something I believe to be true? This is something you can only really understand when you go within yourself. And I'm not telling you to take my word for it. I'm telling you to find out for yourself. Don't believe everything I say. But what I do encourage you to do is to go within and ask yourself, is this true for me? And I believe everybody is an immortal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. I'm not saying that I'm special. I'm saying that it's something that you tap into when you begin to go inwards. Our whole lives, we are meant, or we are taught or conditioned to go outwards, to look for something outside of ourselves to make us feel a certain way. We are in a way not aware, because of a lot of the belief systems that are around, that we are in a way trapped from understanding that this is who we really are, that we are spiritual beings having temporary human experiences. Because when we come to earth, I know this is getting a little bit woo-woo, but when we come to earth and we incarnate here, because we're immortal spiritual beings having temporary human experiences, and time is just some type of continuity, a linear type continuity we experience, but we normally remember who we are when we go places, when we incarnate in places. But Earth is unique. Earth is one where you do not retain the memory of who you are, because you must forget who you are to go through the experience of remembrance. It's in a way kind of like a video game. When you're playing a video game, if you know that it's just a video game, you may just mess around with it. You may just carelessly do things because you know at a deeper level it's just a game. Well, in a way, the paradox is that in a way we've logged into a game that we forgot we were playing, but in a way it is kind of a game. We are immortal spiritual beings that exist in a higher vibrational state right now, but we're dreaming that this is who we are. Now, this is very empowering. I know sometimes people may hear this and they may go, wow, that's very scary. No, it's not scary. That is very empowering to know, because there's so much more flexibility within your life than you are even aware of. It's just your beliefs may be holding you into certain frames, holding you into certain thought patterns, experiencing the same things over and over again. You have the flexibility to create what you want in your life. You begin to tap into this when you go inwards and you realize who you really are. Now, the reason I say this is because we could talk about this in the form of dimensions or vibrational states of consciousness. If you guys want me to speak more about that kind of stuff, feel free to comment in the top of the description box. I normally don't go into stuff like that. I keep it kind of PG, or just more, I guess, acceptable information that people can resonate with. If you guys want me to go more in detail on this, I will. But at a fundamental level, we are these high vibrational entities in a higher state. We come here, we forget who we are, and then we identify with the ego. We identify with who we think that we are, not knowing that we're immortal spiritual beings having temporary human experiences. And we keep ourselves underneath that vibrational high vibe state. But when you begin to let go of the identity with the ego, when you begin to let go of the lower emotions, you start to naturally raise up, because that is who you are. You are that. You are infinite. You exist in that frame right now. You just have simply forgotten. And when you remember, when you remember who you are, when you reconnect with that higher self of who you are, everything in your life will begin to change. I, in essence, began to connect to my higher self. I began to, in a way, people ask me all the time, where do you get all this information? Well, I read, but at the same time, I have a very strong discernment factor within me on what I read being either something that resonates or doesn't resonate. I'm able to meditate and come up with a lot of understandings and meld these ideas together, because mainly what I do on this channel is I meld ideas together and I simplify it so that it's something you can easily and practically apply. And what I want you to understand is that this is the very tip of the iceberg. There is so much more underneath of who you really are, of who you are at a soul level. And it's very empowering, because when you understand it, then you realize that you are so much more than you priorly thought that you were. It opens up a whole new world. It's a whole new vibrational state, and you start to really tap into that. when you have that awareness. So that's why that's the first one. Now the second part of this process has to do with the observation of thought, because as we were talking about, the identification with the ego is what will keep you bobbed down under the surface of you feeling the way that you want. But your natural set point is up here. We've just been led to believe that it's down here. We become comfortable with it, and we haven't peeked through to the higher level. So what do you do for this? Well, this is the game changer. This changed my life. Not just observing the thoughts, but this is the thing that made the difference. When I first began meditation, like I was talking about, I would first try to observe my thoughts. Or I would first try to control my thoughts. I was trying to say, oh, you're supposed to be thinking positive thoughts. I was also, shortly after I really became to understand the secret and the idea that our thoughts create our reality, I'd feel all this resistance. Why am I thinking this way? I shouldn't be thinking negative thoughts. I don't want to manifest it. But then what I did is about 2 or 3 days into it, I had this awareness that I could just observe my thoughts. Don't try to control. Controlling is the ego versus, it's like trying to control a part of yourself, and it doesn't work because it's you against you. Instead, allow the thoughts to be there. This is a game changer. Let the thoughts be there. So I'd have a thought that came into my mind, like, how long is this meditation going to last? Normally I'd be like, don't think that meditation's really good for you, and you're supposed to be high vibe and stuff. And instead, the thought would come into my mind. How long is this meditation going to last? Oh, there you are, thought. Cool. Then it would go away. Like that. It would just come up and then go away. But if you try to control it, you create resistance, and then it stays inside of the mind, it stays inside the energy field and inside of that body. So instead, let it come in, let it go out. Let it come in, let it go out. Observe the thought. Acknowledge it. You can acknowledge it, but you don't have to identify with it and say, oh, this is who I am. Why am I always thinking this? Let it be okay. With even a lot of negative emotions, it's funny. Not funny, but it is kind of in a way to where you can, if you just observe the thought and you let the thought and the emotion be there, it will naturally start to subside. It's only because we believe we should be feeling something different that we maintain and keep that emotion within us. Let it be okay. You are whole and complete. You are enough. Your thoughts are not who you are. You think thoughts, you are not your thoughts. Your brain is doing its job. Its job is to survive. Its job is to think thoughts. Consciousness, who you really are, you can observe that thought. I realized there were two main perspectives. The perspective of the reaction to the mind, the ego. Then I became aware of this observation. I could observe the ego. I could observe the mind. And in that observation, there was some more space. And I could say, wait, this isn't who I prefer to be. Why do I always think that I have ADHD? Because I have a lot of energy? Well, guess what? What else can I do? I can meditate. I can realize and reframe it and say I have a lot of energy. I have a lot more energy than a lot of other people, not in a judgmental way, but that can be a good thing. I can rephrase it as a good thing instead of a negative thing. Say, no, I have a lot of energy and it's not grounded. All I got to do is ground it more because I have a lot of energy. So I started to do that, and guess what? The lower emotions started to go away. I started to observe my thoughts. I started to observe the beliefs that I had, and then everything in my life began to change. So start to observe your thoughts just for a couple minutes a day. Observe the thoughts that you're coming to in your mind, and then let them go. Observe and let go. Let it happen, because as you do that, you let go of the patterns. The way you relate to your thoughts is the most important thing, because if you relate and you identify with them, it will stay within you. It will stay and create resistance. If you relate to your thoughts, you let them be there. You just acknowledge it's a part of the process. They will start to go away. Let it be okay. The third part, the third thing that you can do to transform your vibrational set point is a formula that I learned from Bashar, if you guys know who he is. And it has to do with this formula of following your excitement. So this is the idea. Our passion, when we set an intention to do what we love, and we pay attention to what comes up, and we pay attention to how we feel when we do what we love, and we follow that feeling in every moment. Now, I know it sounds hard, in every moment, how am I supposed to do that? I'll explain it, but this is the idea. When we are doing what we're passionate about, that is our natural vibrational set point. That is that higher self that I'm talking about. And what happens is that when we start to do what we are passionate about, we start to follow that carrot on a stick in a way that will lead us to the next most exciting thing, to the next most exciting thing. And that feeling, that vibration, the vibration of excitement is your body's translation that's telling you, that's saying, hey, this is who you are. This is your preferred state of being. Follow whatever you are doing. So when I create videos, for example, I'm in a flow state right now. I love making videos. I love getting on my website. I love creating content for you guys. I love interacting with other people. I love doing public speaking. I love everything that I do because it is what I'm actually passionate about. So I follow that feeling. And in the same way, that is my body's translation of who I really am. And what you could begin to do is pay attention to what you're excited about and start to follow that excitement, even in little ways. This doesn't have to be some grand, what is my life purpose? What am I meant to be doing in life? And what is the one thing I should be doing? We limit ourselves, thinking it's just one thing. Side note there, but yeah, we limit ourselves, but this is what you can begin to do. What is the most exciting thing I can do in the moment? Maybe it's you going to the park to walk your dog. Maybe it's you just walking around the neighborhood. Maybe it's you reading a book. Maybe it's you taking a shower. Whatever it is, do the most exciting thing that you can think of doing, as long as you can do it until it starts to wear off, and then do the next most exciting thing. And just ask yourself the question, what is the most exciting thing I could be doing right now? Excitement does not have to be hair on fire. It doesn't have to be like, I'm so excited. It could be just a calm excitement, general peacefulness. And start to follow that feeling, because that will lead you to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And that is your vibrational set point, it's your higher self telling you that that's what you're supposed to be doing. Now, with all these things I'm sharing you right now, what I've done is I've created a guided meditation that will show you how to raise your vibrational set point so that you totally transform your consciousness. And that's something that you can download at the top of the description box below, and it will help you to raise your vibrational set point from whatever you're at to 3 to 5 points higher. So I went from 4 to 5 to about 7 or 8. You can do the same exact thing. All you got to do is learn how to observe your thoughts. I show you exactly how to do that in the guided meditation. I show you how to have these awareness, this type of understanding of who you are. But remember, you are an immortal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. You may have forgotten that this is who you are, but really you are so much more than you can even imagine. When you start to tap into that, you start to transform your life. Remember that what you can then do is observe your thoughts from a neutral place. Realize you think thoughts, you are not your thoughts. When you do that, you start to create so much more space within your life. You let go of negative resistance that holds down your level of consciousness. Thirdly, what you can do is you can start to follow the feeling of excitement, because that excitement is showing you who you are meant to be. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, I'm going to be doing more live Q&As on Instagram, so feel free to follow me. In the top of the description box, I'll also put my Instagram. You can follow me there. If you want to interact with me and have more of a dialogue, go ahead and do that, because I'm going to start doing that more often, because I like to have conversations with you guys. And other than that, as always, peace, much love.